When you think back on your childhood, there are certain things you swear you remember crystal clear. The way a cartoon character looked, a line from a movie, or even how your favorite snack was spelled. But then you look again as an adult, and it's different. That's the Mandela Effect at work, where a shared false memory has all of us questioning our sanity. Some say it's just misremembering. Others blame parodies and pop culture rewrites. But then there's the more mysterious theory. A lot of people believe Mandela effects are signs that we've slipped into an alternate universe, where certain details of the past have changed while our memories remain stuck in the old timeline. It sounds wild, but when you realize millions of people share the same wrong memories, it makes you wonder. Today on Let's Run It Back, we're looking at some of the biggest Mandela effects tied to childhood memories and media. Get ready, because chances are you've fallen for at least a few of these yourself. Looney Tunes versus Looney Tunes. Ask almost anyone, and they'll say it was spelled Looney Tunes. After all, they were cartoons, so that spelling makes perfect sense, but the actual name has always been Looney Tunes, a clever play on musical tunes, since Warner Brothers originally used the shorts to highlight their music library. The confusing part is that Merry Melodies, another Warner Brothers series, was released at the same time, making Toons feel even less likely. It's such a small detail, but millions of us grew up confidently calling them Looney Tunes, which makes this one of the most famous childhood Mandela effects. The Bernstein Bears. This one is the ultimate childhood Mandela effect. So many of us read those books in school or watched the cartoon and remember the Bernstein Bears with an E. But the truth is, it's always been Bernstein with an A. That single letter difference is burned into our memories the wrong way. Some fans swear they own books that use the E spelling, which fuels the theory that our reality shifted somewhere along the line. Whether it's bad memory, a quirk of language, or a peek into a multiverse, it's one of the strongest examples of how nostalgia can play tricks on us. Curious George's tail. Think back to Curious George. Most kids would draw him swinging from trees or hanging by his tail. Except here's the kicker. Curious George never had a tail. Not in the books, not in the TV show, not in any version. Our brains just filled in the detail because monkeys usually have tails, and cartoons often exaggerate that feature. But George is technically an ape, not a monkey, which explains the missing tail. Still, the false memory is so strong that even today people will insist they grew up seeing it. Pikachu's tail. For 90s kids, Pikachu was everywhere. TV, trading cards, plush toys, video games. And if you ask those same kids what Pikachu looked like, many would describe his lightning bolt tail with a black tip. But that black tip doesn't exist. Pikachu's tail has always been solid yellow with a brown base. The false memory probably came from bootleg merchandise and fan art, but it spread like wildfire. Even hardcore Pokemon fans get tripped up by this one, which shows just how powerful collective misremembering can be. Fruit of the Loom logo. The Fruit of the Loom logo is one of the most debated Mandela effects. Millions of people remember the fruit sitting inside a cornucopia, a basket-like horn of plenty. But go back through the company's history and you won't find it. There's never been a cornucopia in the logo, just the fruit. Some theorists say this one feels like proof of a timeline shift, because the image of that cornucopia is so vivid in people's minds. It's not just a vague memory. It's something people are sure they saw on their underwear packaging as kids. The Flintstones. Here's another simple but unforgettable childhood memory glitch. Most people pronounce the title quickly as Flintstones, dropping that first T. Over time, it's solidified in our memories that way. But the actual spelling has always been the Flintstones, like Flint Rock. It makes sense once you realize it's a Stone Age pun. But for kids repeating the name on the playground, that extra T often got lost. That's why so many of us feel shocked when we see the real logo today. Mirror, mirror on the wall. If you grew up with Disney's Snow White, you definitely remember the evil queen's chilling line, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" Except that's not what she says. The real line is,
"Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?"
So how did mirror, mirror become the line everyone quotes? likely from decades of pop culture parodies and retellings that changed it. But because we heard those versions so often as kids, it overwrote the real line in our memories. The Disney Castle intro. Picture this. The Disney Castle appears, Tinkerbell flies across, waves her wand, and dots the I in Disney. That intro lives rent-free in the minds of countless fans. But here's the truth. It never consistently happened. Yes, Tinkerbell appeared in some variations, but she never actually dotted the I the way people swear she did. Because different intros played before different movies and home videos, our brains stitched them together into a standard version that doesn't exist. Shazaam with Sinbad. One of the most famous false memories from the 90s. People swear there was a movie called Shazaam starring comedian Sinbad as a genie. Kids even recall renting the VHS and remembering scenes from it. But no such movie was ever made. The real film was Shazaam starring Shaquille O'Neal in 1996. The mix-up likely happened because Sinbad hosted marathons of movies on TV and wore genie-like costumes in the 90s. Still, the number of people who remember Shazaam feels eerie, as if it existed in another reality that we somehow left behind. Monopoly Man's Monocle. Rich Uncle Pennybags, aka the Monopoly Man, is remembered by generations of kids as having a monocle. It fits the image of a rich old man perfectly, and cartoons often drew him that way in spoofs. But in the actual game, he never had one. The collective false memory may come from confusing him with Mr. Peanut, who does have a monocle, but still, when you see the real character without it, it just looks wrong to the memory we all grew up with. Mr. Rogers' theme song. If you grew up watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you can probably sing the theme song right now. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. But listen closely to the old recordings and you'll hear the real line.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor.
It's such a subtle change, but it's enough to throw off childhood memories. For a show that was all about warmth and routine, having the lyrics slightly different than we remember makes this one feel especially strange. Jif peanut butter. Back in the day, kids often asked their parents to buy Jiffy peanut butter, but the brand has always been Jif, without the fee. The mix-up likely happened because people blended Jif with Skippy, another big peanut butter brand. Still, the number of people who claim they ate Jiffy sandwiches as kids makes this one of the most enduring Mandela effects tied to food. KitKat hyphen. Many people remember KitKat being spelled with a hyphen, especially since it was often shown in bold lettering on commercials. But if you look at the packaging today, it's always been just KitKat without the dash. It's one of those small visual details that makes you question how many logos and brand names we've misremembered over the years. Skechers spelling. If you were a kid in the 90s or early 2000s, chances are you wore Skechers, and a lot of us are convinced it was spelled Skechers with a T. But the brand has always been spelled Skechers. The added T feels natural because of the word sketch, which is probably why so many of us thought the sneakers were spelled that way. Oscar Meyer. The famous hot dog brand has a catchy jingle. My bologna has a first name, it's Oscar. My bologna has a second name, it's Mayer. But here's the problem. Most people grew up calling it Oscar Meyer with an E. It's always been spelled Meyer with an A, but the way it's pronounced makes people naturally think of Meyer. That small detail has caused decades of confusion. Darth Vader's famous line. One of the most misquoted movie lines of all time. Everyone remembers Darth Vader looming over Luke Skywalker and saying, "Luke, I am your father." But what he actually says is,
"No, I am your father."
The iconic misquote was reinforced by years of impressions, jokes, and parodies, to the point that the wrong version feels more real than the original. Britney Spears' headset. When people think back to Britney Spears performing Oops, I Did It Again in the iconic red jumpsuit, they almost always picture her wearing a black headset microphone. It became such a part of the collective memory that fans insist they saw it in the music video. But if you rewatch it today, there's no headset at all. Britney is simply dancing and singing without one. The false memory probably comes from her many live performances at the time, where she often wore a headset, and the fact that headsets were a staple of late 90s and early 2000s pop stars. Still, this one feels especially strange because the mental image of Britney in that outfit with the headset is so vivid that many fans can't believe it was never there. Mickey Mouse's Suspenders. This one is shocking because Mickey Mouse is probably the most recognizable cartoon character in the world. A lot of people remember Mickey wearing suspenders along with his red shorts. Kids drew him that way, and even some older merchandise and costumes seem to reinforce it. But the truth is, Mickey has never officially worn suspenders. His classic look is just the red shorts with 2 white buttons, yellow shoes, and white gloves. The suspenders are a false memory, likely created by decades of fan art, knockoff costumes, and the way people naturally imagine old-fashioned cartoon characters dressing. Risky business sunglasses. Tom Cruise dancing in his underwear to old-time rock and roll is one of the most famous movie scenes ever. And yet the detail many people remember, the sunglasses, isn't there. In the actual scene, Cruise isn't wearing them. But later parodies, commercials, and Halloween costumes often added shades, rewriting the memory for an entire generation. Double stuffed Oreos. Finally, we've got Oreos. Generations of kids grew up calling them double stuff with 2 F's. But the real name is double stuff with 1 F. The false spelling feels so natural that even people who see the packaging now often assume it's a typo. It's a sweet ending to our list, but also one of the most persistent Mandela effects tied to childhood snacks. So how many of these Mandela effects fooled you? To be honest, I know many of these had me questioning my own childhood memories. That's the crazy thing about nostalgia. What we think we remember often isn't exactly how it really was. And if the alternate universe theory is true, maybe some of us really did grow up in a slightly different reality than the one we're in now. Either way, these shared memories connect us, whether they're accurate or not. A huge shout out and heartfelt thank you to our amazing Throwback Tier members, Peace by Chaos, Thicula, iCritic, Jeremy Bowen, Mr. Blanks, and Sonic and Leighton Fan. Your support means the world, and you're helping keep the nostalgia alive in a big way. I also want to thank all the other awesome members who support the channel. Whether you're new or you've been rocking with us from the beginning, I appreciate every single one of you. If you enjoyed this trip down the strange side of memory lane, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss more nostalgic deep dives. And as always, keep the nostalgia alive.